mouth for booting up cold.
Groovy.
No, Waspinator has a headache in his whole body.
How am I gonna fix that?
Give me some sugar, baby.
I don't think so.
Well, hello, Mr. Fancy Pants.
Yes.
Oh, great. We're all gonna die.
Perkalabba ding dong.
Good evening. Are you ready? It's time for the hype of the night, the Breaux Show. And now, here's everybody's favorite two-stepping host, Michael Breaux.
Well, hey there, hi there, and ho there. Welcome to the Breaux Show, everybody. This is episode 36 of November 13th, 2013, the not live episode. That's right, this show is pre-recorded. Okay, actually, it's just a couple of segments I'm doing right now on Tuesday night so that I can actually make it seem like I'm doing a show on Wednesday night. And what we're doing is we're actually going to celebrate something coming up in just a couple weeks. But first, let's talk about our sponsors. Of course, we want to give a big shout out to O'Doodle's Toy Store and O'Doodles.com, where the fun is unplugged. Make sure to check out their Salvation Army link as well on the site and make your donations for Salvation Army kids here in the Philadelphia area today at O'Doodles.com. Make sure to check out RetroCon 2014 at RetroCons.com, the convention for the retro fan in you. They've just now confirmed that they will have the voice of the original Zartan right there at RetroCon at its two-day event in September 2014. Check out RetroCons.com for more information. Also, Kokomo Toys and Collectibles, KokomoToys.com, where you can get the collectible and retro toys just for you. And, of course, Deer Park, the unofficial official drink of the Breaux Show. Deer Park, where you can drink real deer. All right, folks, tonight's show is episode 36. That's right, episode 36 of the Breaux Show, and it's canned. It is pre-taped. Why? Well, the last time I was on call for my main work during the week, I got calls live on the show. So I decided this week, let's go canned, let's do something taped, and let's do something kind of cool leading up to next week. Now, next week on November 23rd is the 50th anniversary of Doctor Who, and there's going to be a 50th anniversary special airing. I can't wait. But to celebrate, what do I do here at the Breaux Show? We got 2 weeks to go. Well, next week, I think I'm going to be talking live on air about my favorite Doctor Who episodes, the ones that got me into it, the ones that keep me going. But this week, let's look back at episodes of the Breaux Show, specifically the reviews that I did of all the new Clara episodes with the 11th Doctor. So what you're going to hear over the next half hour or so, I think 45 minutes, are my reviews of all 8 episodes, starting with the Bells of St. John and ending with the Name of the Doctor. Each and every review I did this year of all those Doctor Who episodes. So let's get this party started, and let's start off with my review of the Bells of St. John, and keep on going until we get to the Name of the Doctor. Rock on, everybody. So let's get on into the rest of our show here. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about Doctor Who. That's right. I mentioned last week I was going to do a quick little review of Doctor Who from this episode that aired this past Saturday, last night as a matter of fact. I was actually out late last night hanging out with the RetroCon crew, talking about a few things, and then I came home super late. But you know what I did? As soon as I got home, I watched Doctor Who, the Bells of St. John episode. And, you know, I had a few cool little things I picked up on that. So let's take a look here. Now, New Who is back on the air and the start of 8 new episodes before the 50th anniversary special later this year. With the third return of Clara Oswin Oswald, this time in modern times, the Doctor is off to begin to find out who she is exactly and, of course, go back on the adventure that is being the Doctor. One little geek out moment I had, though, and I never figured it out until this episode aired, was that the Bells of St. John referred to, spoilers, the phone of the Doctor's phone box exterior of the TARDIS ringing, with Clara calling from present day to where the Doctor was hiding in 1207 Cumbria as a monk. Too cool. Of course, why was she calling? For tech support. Figures. I'm a tech support guy myself, and, they call at all hours or apparently time frames. The story itself, that of Wi-Fi downloading humans and souls in the internet, was a great metaphor as to how our lives seem to revolve around all things social media based now. Heck, now how else do I promote my own show? All social media. It's like we live there now more than we live more now online and not in the real world. And that's how this big bad in this episode, an oldie but the goodie, spoilers, again, we've already seen this one now with a Clara episode. It's kind of an interesting little twist. But the bad guy in this episode technically is the Great Intelligence. And he's feeding on these souls that are going on the internet. Yes, he feeds on the souls that have been uploaded. Creepy. With Clara threatened again, and the doctor feels he could lose her a third time, a.k.a. the Rory death syndrome, he fights hard to keep her. He's smitten, possibly. I don't know. It's hard to say, but he definitely feels a new sense of connection and passion with this new companion. So through hacking battles, inventing the quadricycle, and riding a modified Triumph motorcycle up the side of a building, he saves Clara and the world by having everyone who had been sucked into the internet restored, assuming they had a body still to return to. That makes for a great Doctor Who story, and while we don't learn much about Clara except that she lives her life much like her governor's alter ego in the most recent Christmas special, we do learn and see the chemistry with her and the Doctor. I, for one, cannot wait for the next adventure. Definitely check this episode out when you get a chance, and I'll review next week's new episode again here on the Breaux Show radio show broadcast live next week. New Doctor Who episode. Yes, that's right. Now, little side programming note. My printer actually ran out of ink while I was printing this week's script. It's what I usually read from or give my ideas to, so I can actually have something in hand while I'm talking to you guys. It actually stopped printing on page 3, which I needed to be able to continue this. So bear with me as I go over my notes and read from my review here directly on my computer screen, which messes me up just a hair. But that being said, it's time for a new Who review from you-know-who, Michael Breaux. Michael Breaux. All right. So this week's episode was The Rings of Akatan. And this adventure marks the second outing for Clara Oswald with the Doctor. Whew. You never know with these Claras if she's going to make it to the second adventure in one piece, do you? So what did we learn in this episode? First, in the opening sequence, we see the Doctor watching a young couple as their romance blossoms, all with the start of the most important leaf in the universe, as it had to grow at the right time, bloom perfectly, and fall on the face of a young man just in time to stop him long enough to meet a young woman in the summer of 1981. The Doctor watches them through the years as they marry and have a child, that little one being Clara herself, whom she meets as a little girl, who he meets as a little girl with both her parents once before. Now, just before the Doctor picks up our modern-day Clara to begin their adventures, he makes one final stop, that of seeing a young teenage Clara with her father at the grave of her mother, who passed away in 2005. Interesting year, since that was the year Doctor Who returned to TV, and also the year possibly the Time War ended? I wonder. Anyway, back to the story. So the Doctor and Clara take off, and she wants to see something, quote, awesome. Maybe she wants to see The Miz on WrestleMania? Who knows? Anyway, so he takes her to the Rings of Akatan, a spaceport that feels a lot like the Tatooine in a way. You know, Tatooine from Star Wars, on a floating asteroid. Lots of cool creatures walking around a bizarre shopping area of some kind of sort. Neat to see the makeup guys of Doctor Who get a workout every once in a while. You see tons of different aliens, not just alternate foreheads like Star Trek, but full-on helmets and some neat puppetry makeup work, a la Farscape's old look. Kudos to the production team and design team there. So Clara meets a little girl who is part of a ritual that sings to a god, a.k.a. a star-sized alien, to keep it appeased so as not to eat the worlds in her system. That's a big appetite. When this singing fails to do the job, the Doctor and Clara find themselves in a rescue attempt of this little girl. We discover that the creature feeds on the souls. Is this creature from Evil Dead? I'll swallow your soul. The creature feeds on the souls of people when awakened, their torment and memories of times past that were so bad. The more it feeds on these, the better it feels and grows. So the doctor works alone to stop this menace whole getting Clara and the girl away to relative safety. How does he do this? Well, he tells the creature to take his memories, to take the doctor's own sorrow. He's got over 1,000 years to share, and so he does. It was in this scene where I think I saw Matt Smith truly be in a great moment of being the doctor for the first time, really. Sure, he's been great before, lots of nuances and whatnot, but this scene here just showed Matt exposing like a raw nerve what it must be like to carry the doctor's emotional baggage. He wept and cried and showed anger and despair, all in the span of a couple of minutes while giving a little expose on his life. It was a real magic moment in TV. Of course, in the end, it takes Clara coming to his aid and sharing the leaf that brought her parents together as one final memory to push the menace over the edge and implode on itself. But it wasn't memories of things lost, sadness, or complete grief that did the creature in. It was worded this way to make me well up as it touched my own heart at the loss as Clara's mother was for her. It was Clara talking about the loss of her mother, and it was a sad fact that her mother and her would miss out on the infinite possibilities of what could have been great memories in time lost with the death of her mother. It was heartbreaking. I had a tough time watching that scene too. And it looks silly if you're just seeing Clara holding up a leaf, but I don't know, it just got me. It was really, really well done. What I didn't like about this episode was just one thing. The great big kumbaya sing-along at one point in the Aliens, in an effort to try and stem the souls from being consumed by this big creature. It was just odd for me in an otherwise really great episode. So what did I like? The aliens, Clara, the little girl, the doctor, of course, and most of all, there was just one little line that might have been meant to be a throwaway line, but it was a neat little tie-in for the 50th anniversary of the show and to the first Doctor himself. Yep, it was when Matt Smith's doctor actually said to Clara he used to come to this port all the time with his granddaughter. Talk about a little cool geek-out moment for this Whovian. Oh, and this second adventure was great, and we are promised another with Clara, intact and not dead again. So, next week, what's coming up on Doctor Who? The Ice Warriors return. I can't wait. More classic Doctor Who, guys. New Who we every week right now review from You Know Who, Dr. Breaux. Well, here we go. We're going to take a look at Doctor Who Cold War, the episode that aired last night on BBC America and actually in the BBC as well. Now, let's just talk a little bit about this first, okay? It's a great episode, but let me just let you know what I thought. Now, after last week's episode, it seems that Clara is coming into her own, even after some online reviewers seemed to skewer last week's episode, saying it was one of the worst in a long time. I admit it had a big sing-along moment, but I thought it was an excellent hour of TV. Just the same, that cold reception seemed fitting that this new episode was titled Cold War, and how does the Doctor team fight back? With an episode full of 1983 high war drama and Cold War intrigue taking place on a Russian nuclear sub with the Doctor and Clara and an Ice Warrior. Yes, that's right, old and new Whovian fans, this episode marked the return of a foe for the Doctor hasn't seen on screen since 1974. Wow, that's a long time. So how is it we see an Ice Warrior on a Russia sub? Well, he was plucked out of the ice, thought to be a woolly mammoth specimen by a professor that happened to be on board. Of course. I mean, this is Doctor Who. It doesn't have to make sense. It just has to be fun. Now, due to a young seaman's truly stupid idea to thaw out this mammoth, guess who gets to run amok on the ship? Yep, a good old-fashioned scary-as-heck Ice Warrior, fresh from a 5,000-year-old nap on an ice and a little bit grumpy getting up on the wrong side of the ice cube. Needless to say, we see a lot of talking between the Doctor and the ship's captain and the Ice Warrior, who we learn is Grand Marshal Skaldak, a leader whose name inspired so much fear in his enemies, and from a long time before the Ice Warriors became Peace Warriors for a coalition of peaceful planets, including his native Mars and our own Earth. What's also really interesting to see is the Ice Warrior out of its protective shell, looking very reptilian in nature. The clawed hands that were a practical special effect on the show were used decently, but they looked a little off in an otherwise spectacular production value of the show. From the sub-design to the water, everywhere, where all the time you even see the outside shots of the subs sitting on the reef. Even the CGI of Skaldak's head when he was shown in shadow, and again with his helmet off, getting his suit back on, looked amazing. No Star Trek makeup foreheads here. I especially like seeing the Ice Warrior ship from the pickup they did later at the end of the episode. Oh, I'm sorry, were those spoilers? I'm sure everybody's watched the show by now, right? Right? Okay, so what did we not see? Clara being particularly useful this time. Just there as a wet decoration most of the time. She was a great foil for the Doctor as usual, but she seemed to be more in the way than helpful this time. But maybe that's the point. Maybe the Doctor wants to have someone to save, and he likes the idea of having Clara around more than just Clara herself. Or maybe he just wants to have her around as much so he can be able to figure out who the heck she is. I'll admit, though, it was odd yet cool that Clara's connection with Skaldak, and her reminding Skaldak of his own long-lost daughter, that was pretty neat. That, and she sang a couple lines from Duran Duran's Hungry Like the Wolf. I don't dare play the song because I might get busted for that. But yeah, it's one of my favorite songs too. At the request of the professor on board, and a huge pop culture fan was the professor. Overall, it was a decent episode, and it was neat to see an old foe return, but kind of weak for me overall. They were going for nuclear tension on a ship in 80s Cold War field, and all I got was a Doctor Who plays with Red October for a spell with ice cubes. If you want to treat something to the Ice Warriors again, this is the episode for you. If not, I think you can skip until next week's episode. And next week's episode looks like it's going to be a Doctor Who meets Scooby-Doo. That should be interesting. Ruh-roh. Now, I just want to make one last note. It bothered me throughout the entire episode who the professor was, and then it hit me, the actor himself. It was the same actor who played the TCRI professor from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze. Where is Vanilla Ice when you need him? He would have fit perfectly into this storyline. Yeah, that's right. I'm saying it. They need Vanilla Ice in another Ice Warrior story. He just needs to be there so that the Ice Warriors can stomp on him. Okay, so that being said, that's what I thought of Doctor Who this week. It was great, but not great. It wasn't super awesome. I'm hoping next week's is much better. I mean, it looks like a kind of 70s haunted house era. Maybe we'll see some references to The Exorcist. Who knows? But in the meantime, let's get right into our review here of Doctor Who. Yes, that's right. Our new review by you-know-who, the Breaux show here, of Doctor Who's newest episode, Hyde. So, now, last week's episode of Cold War left me a little, cold. And it was nice to see the show come back to a form mostly with Hyde. Only a few problematic spots, I thought, but overall, pretty nicely done. The show starts out in typical fashion. Spooky lighting, old house, 70s electronics sprawled about. We see two paranormal investigators twisting knobs, talking about the previous jobs, sharing time, and then a knock. Who's at the door? The Doctor and Clara, of course. And Clara declares, looking for Ghostbusters? I half expected Ray and Egon to pop up, too. After the new opening sequence rolls, and by the way, can I just say, I actually do like the new opening sequence where the TARDIS is flying and flying and flying, and then it folds right up to the front doors and it opens up into a new scene. I just think that's actually really cool. We're back in the house, and the Doctor gets himself in with some psychic paper and mumbo-jumbo about being with the Ministry of Defense, or something like that. The Professor and his empathic psychic assistant, not companion. I thought that was pretty neat they made that distinction. Don't openly trust the Doctor or Clara, but let them in nonetheless. The Doctor states he's here to help, and so he does, by asking what they have seen and going off to explore the house with Clara. He soon finds a cold spot, and he and Clara both realize they are being followed in the house by something, especially when Clara asks why the Doctor is holding her hand, and he says he isn't. Cue the screams! Ah! Okay, so they run back to the Professor and his assistant, whom she looks like a young version of Sarah Jane Smith, actually, to me. And after looking over their photos, a realization is made. The ghost is in nearly the same position, facing the same way in every single photo. The Doctor and Clara go to the TARDIS and take a few jumps. The Doctor tells Clara they are traveling and not moving from that spot. So Clara asks a smart question, and I thought this was really, really cool. when are we going? It shows Clara actually has intelligence, which I really, really like. We haven't seen that the last couple episodes, really. I don't think. Nice way to show the audience she's getting it now and how it all works, even if the TARDIS still doesn't seem to like her too much. On this quick trip, the Doctor takes photographs with the Professor's camera of the same spot across time on the Earth itself. From its formation to humanity's history to the end of the world, I wonder if the Doctor and Rose saw them there? Interesting. Could the Doctor on the space station with Rose see the Doctor with Clara on Earth before it exploded in that second episode of the new series? Interesting thought. Anyway, a quick jaunt back into the time with the Professor and looking at the photos, and the Doctor realizes they are looking at a human time traveler stuck in a pocket universe with about 3 minutes of time in her viewpoint to live. Wow, timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly indeed. To this Who fan, though, you just go with it, folks. Just go with it. With a little help from an empathic assistant as a guide, the power from the TARDIS, they open a doorway to this pocket universe, and the Doctor helps retrieve the human time traveler herself, but gets stuck in the pocket universe briefly with the creature as well. With a little coaxing, the TARDIS actually lets Clara inside on its own. A first for Doctor Who, a companion getting into the TARDIS, being let in the TARDIS by the TARDIS without a TARDIS key? I don't know. Somebody may have to tell me about that one. It allows Clara to get inside the TARDIS and take it to the pocket universe to get the Doctor, even with the chance that the TARDIS would lose power and be unable to return. They make it back, and all is over, right? The Doctor explains that the empath could sense this time traveler because they are blood-related by a couple hundred years. But he also realizes that the creature inside the house and the one in the pocket universe are mates. They're friends, maybe they're companions, maybe they're husband and wife, who knows? They're really ugly, but that's the beauty of this. Doctor Who, you see the beauty and the ugly as well, or what we perceive as ugly. So he goes back one more time to get the creature and reunite them together, much like the Professor and his assistant realize they are to be together too, and start a family that would eventually make the time-traveling human too. Wow, it was a cool twist and turns episode, I thought, and brilliantly played by all the actors. The one interesting note I thought was the empath told Clara not to fully trust the Doctor, for he has a cold sliver in his heart. Interesting advice. And the Doctor came here not for fun of a ghost hunt, but to ask the empath what Clara was. And he got an unexpected answer. An ordinary girl. I can't wait to see how that all plays out. Overall, an excellent episode of Who, and lots of fun, I have to say. Next week's journey to the center of the TARDIS, though, well, that looks fun. And I think we actually saw the pool in one of the previews, so rock on. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into the rest of the show. Now, we've been doing this every week for the last few weeks, and I'm going to keep on doing it. We're going to review new Doctor Who. That's right. Now, this week's Doctor Who actually was really cool. This is a new review Who from You Know Who, Michael Breaux. Oh, wait, no, that's me, Michael Breaux. So, we're going to be reviewing Journey to the Center of the TARDIS. And you can tell it's an English show because I spelled center C-E-N-T-R-E, not T-E-R. So it's definitely a British show when they do it that way, right? Right? Okay, so just as the title says, we get a journey, all right, a journey to the actual center of the TARDIS. And what a journey it is indeed. The show opens with the Doctor trying to get Clara and the TARDIS to get along a little bit better because, you know, the TARDIS can be temperamental. So in that effort, he shuts the TARDIS down to its most basic operating mode and has Clara try and fly the ship. Really, Doctor? Really? Did you see Deanna Troi actually fly the Starship Enterprise into a planet? Are you crazy? Anyway, in that moment, a trio of guys in their salvage ship happen to scan the TARDIS on their scopes and see it as a chance for what else? Salvage. They are actually able to capture the TARDIS in their ship, all because the TARDIS shields are down and the basic running mode. And the TARDIS is pulled in, Clara is lost in the recesses, and the Doctor finds himself face to face with this salvage crew. After some finagling, the Doctor convinces this crew the salvage of a lifetime is inside the TARDIS. And if they go inside, they can have any of it. As all he wants is he wants to save Clara. They get inside, and here we hear that famous line from one of the salvage crew, two who are brothers and one who's an android. It's bigger on the inside. Of course it is. Duh. And then the Doctor, now at the behest of time, because Clara could be in mortal danger inside the TARDIS, forces the salvage crew to search quickly for her by turning on the self-destruct switch for an hour. and then 30 minutes, because without lack of cooperation, he needs to get them to work faster. I thought that was pretty effective, actually, and it showed a little bit of a darker side to the Doctor, I thought. Nice little cool thing. All right. Oh, I will definitely let you know at Fifth Rate on Twitter to definitely come back on. Tune out the show now. Yes, I apologize. I keep on forgetting. I need to say spoilers when I'm actually reviewing Doctor Who because I want to go through the whole episode. All right, back to the review here. Now, they've agreed to move on and go through the search after the Doctor threatens to destroy the TARDIS. Throughout the search, we see Clara encounter various rooms within the TARDIS, from the pool to the library to the echoes of the control room. She also is chased by what looks like an extremely burned and charred creature. Very scary and effectively shown as dangerous through some nice camera shaking angles and a distortion of the scene as if viewed from the creature itself. It's very effective. As a videographer and potential filmmaker down the line, maybe, who knows. I thought it was just very cool with what was probably a limited TV budget, the way they did it. It looked really neat. When you do see the episode, if you haven't seen it yet, it looks really cool, to me anyway. It was in the library room where we see Clara find a big book, a book with the title, The History of the Time War. I ain't gonna lie, when I saw that, I went, oh, wow. She reads a few pages on it and utters, so that's who. Interesting indeed. I think she found out something. Also really cool of note, she hides in the library from her would-be attackers and knocks over a jar in a series labeled the Gallifreyan Encyclopedia. During this moment, and another when one of the Salvage brothers is taking apart one of the control panels of the TARDIS, we hear echoed voices. And if my ears did not deceive me, they were the voices from previous Doctors and his companions talking about the TARDIS, in the TARDIS, Gallifrey, history, or more. It almost sounded like the 2nd, 4th, 5th, and even the 10th Doctors overlapping with their various companions. But I could be wrong. Either way, it was just way cool. Now, at one point, the Doctor finds the Salvage brothers taking a very important component of the TARDIS, one of the large glowing egg-shaped devices of the Time Lord tech that allows to have the ship reconfigure its living metal whenever needed to suit the needs of the writers itself. The TARDIS gets a little cross, it gets a little upset, and basically tries to get rid of the threat. This leads to the android getting hurt, and the revelation is actually the little brother of the other two guys, who put in a voice box and eye enhancement after an accident erased this brother's memory to make him think he was an android, just because they were jealous of him. Yeah, nice job, guys. Towards the end, the Doctor ends the countdown as they are able to find Clara in one of the echoes of the control room, and he reveals he never actually started a self-destruct. It was just an act to get those guys to help. But now, due to the damage of the salvage ship, the TARDIS is about to explode, so they need to go to the center of the TARDIS. Coolness. Through a hatch, they go down, and they find a burned-out creatures again. And Clara asks who or what they are. We see one even that looks like the two bodies fused together. As we make our way down, Clara and the Doctor see echoes of themselves in the TARDIS, which the Doctor explains as a rip in time, getting worse as an exploding TARDIS center is happening. They have to make it there soon, or all is going to be lost. As they go, they walk into a room, and it shows off what I think is almost impressive sight of power source for the TARDIS. The engine being an exploding star turning into a black hole, captured and turned in on itself, or something like that. How the heck do they do that? Doesn't matter. You just go with it and have fun, because it's what Doctor Who is supposed to be. After encountering those creatures once more, the Doctor reveals who they are. They are burned out husks of the Salvage brothers and one of Clara. The Doctor apologizes to her for letting her die again and wants to save her again. They finally get to a point where they where they get to an exploding engine of the TARDIS, and she makes him explain what he meant. He tells her about Dalek Clara, the Victorian Clara, and how he just wants to know what or who she is. After an impassioned decree she doesn't know and a long hug, I mean, she was adamant. I don't know what you're talking about. The Doctor finally realizes that this Clara, this one and only Clara, is the one that is real, and another mystery for another time. Before he does, and this Clara tells him she knows his name, and about the Time War, and more from her time in the TARDIS so far. The Doctor tells her if he does this fix, she won't remember, but she wants to very badly. Who knows? Maybe she does or will remember, but for now the Doctor is successful in rewriting the day. The brothers are on the salvage ship and still alive and never capture the TARDIS, and Clara and the Doctor talk about feeling like they had lived 2 days already and are tired, and not one that Clara thinks that they've had and been on board for. Pretty neat. I didn't even mind so much that they was written out as if it never happened. The good? Seeing so much of the TARDIS and those echoing voices of past incarnations. The bad? While the Salvage Team Brothers story was a nice add-on, it wasn't necessary. And the ugly? Such a tease of the TARDIS. I want to see more! Overall, a pretty solid episode and one of the better ones of this season so far. Next week they head back to seeing Potato Head, and so does present Clara dress like Victorian Clara and get recognized in Victorian England? We'll soon find out. So yeah, that's how Doctor Who went this week. It was really, really good. This was so far, I think, the strongest episode of the season, just because we get so many teases of the TARDIS itself and potential bits of history throughout the entire run of the show, but also just Gallifreyan history we have not seen on screen yet. Let me go ahead and talk a little bit about new Doctor Who. There was a new episode last night, and I have a couple thoughts on it. Now, of course, there are going to be spoilers during my review here, so if you don't want to listen, go ahead and turn your audio down right now. If you're able to watch the YouTube feed on this live feed, while I have the poster up for the Crimson Horror from Doctor Who, that's how I'll be doing the review. So definitely go ahead and turn it down. All right, so hold on. Here we go with the new Who review by Michael Breaux. Breaux. Okay, so we're doing the review of The Crimson Terror from New Who. The episode starts off with our favorite Victorian England trio of Madame Bastra, a.k.a. the Lizard Lady, her wife, the kick-butt Jenny, and Strax, a.k.a. Mr. Potato Head. They really need to make an actual Mr. Potato Head of Strax. How cool would that be? Anyway, okay, the Sanitarian Potato Head? Man, that would be awesome. All right, so we find him investigating a reporter brother's death, one who died of something being dubbed the Crimson Horror. From the looks of it, Madame Vastra seems to have an idea, but wants to be sure of what's going on. Apparently, it seems that this gentleman, along with many others, had made their way to a retreat called Sweetville, run by a charismatic evangelic, I can't say that word, evangelic, like leader in the old Mrs. Gilliflower, who was working with the mysterious Mr. Sweet. I was thinking when I heard the name Mr. Sweet, Buffy the Vampire Slayer's musical song and dance number episode. Just my thought. There was also her daughter, Ada, who was there to help these souls as well, even though she was slightly disfigured and blinded. Madame Vestra sends Jenny in as a spy to get into Sweetville and to find out what's going on, and also to locate the Doctor. They knew he was there as he is the last image the dead reporter's brother even saw. I don't want to give away that cool little trick. It's kind of a myth, but it was just a neat thing they actually threw in there for the Victorian ages. I thought it was cool. Jenny sneaks her way around and finally finds the Doctor in a state of red coloring and unable and hardly to move, chained up and being taken care of by the blind Ada as her pet monster. The Doctor's a monster? Well, in some circles, he would be considered a monster, I suppose. It's an interesting choice of a name for the Doctor. The Doctor is now free and able to clean himself up with a sonic screwdriver. I also love how they don't really explain how he did it. He just went into a little room cubbyhole and fixed himself up. He then tells Jenny they need to look for Clara. Jenny, of course, is confused because to her, Clara died a fairly long while ago. The Doctor never really explains who Clara is because, well, he himself can't explain it either. I can't talk tonight. He does give a quick backstory as how they arrived, began to investigate the Crimson Horror, and he and Clara getting into Sweetville as well. They learned that the horror was a poison used for dipping these people in and making them submissive to Mrs. Gilliflower and be there for her and Mr. Sweet to rule the world when they unleashed their plan for these poor, unfortunate souls. Man, I really thought Ursula was singing at that point. Those that did not survive the process became red all over. They were called rejects and put out to float away in the river out into London. Go figure. The doctor survived, barely, and Ada actually hid him away and made him her pet monster. He wasn't even sure how long he had been there. Through more misadventures, they finally find Clara in a jar, ready to be released after Mrs. Gillyflower's and Mr. Sweet's plans come to pass, with Judgment Day arriving soon. Seriously, the Terminators are going to show up too? Madame Vestra and Strax soon join back up with the Doctor and Jenny, and they together learn of the plan from Ada to destroy the world with this poison that was familiar to Madame Vestra, as she knew of it before, 65 million years before, as a virus that nearly wiped out her people. It had now evolved, and as a creature stuck to Mrs. Gillyflower, calling itself Mr. Sweet, and looking like a little red tadpole with spiky arms, Gillyflower performed experiments on her own daughter to perfect the crimson process. That's just messed up. That's just like really messed up stuff. And when a rocket is launched with a large jar of this crimson horror poison, the world would die out or live in their rule, Mr. Sweets and Miss Gillyflowers. Vastra and Jenny are able to grab the poison before the rocket fires out and explodes harmlessly in the air, and Ada exacts her revenge finally on her mother and Mr. Sweet, killing them both after Strax shot Mrs. Gillyflower down from the tower gantry. Wow, it's a lot of action and a lot of creepy terror fun. It was nice to see the Doctor back in great form here. I almost want more adventures, though, with just Vastra the trio. They could be cool to have their own mini-series or something. You know, that would just be cool. We need to let them know. But let's not Moffat run it. I just want those three together. And although Clara is never really explained to the trio, it's nice to see them knowing that the Doctor is a little happy again, if they're still perplexed. Now, as the episode ends, we see Clara go back into her home where she cares for the kids, and as she plays with a G1 Galvatron. Yes, that's true, folks. She plays with a Generation 1 Galvatron. She is confronted by said kids with pictures of Clara in different time periods. Yes, folks, they played the Rose card by having someone use or go on the internet to find their nanny around the world in time. And they deduced that she is some sort of time traveler with her boyfriend. Next week, the Cybermen episode looks like it's Take Your Kids to Meet the Cybermen Day. I really, really, really hope it's still a great episode. But up to that point, this episode was actually fantastic. So, yeah, I'm really, really hoping that it's a good episode next week and that we don't see the kids turned into... Well, actually, if we see the kids turned into Cybermen, that would be really, really cool, wouldn't it? How would the Doctor solve that? And let me go ahead and give you my review of New Who from Michael Breaux. That's right, a new review of Doctor Who from the episode Nightmare in Silver. And as we land into the review, let me get started. Now, as the last episode ended, we saw that the kids that Clara takes care of had figured out that Clara was a time traveling somehow by seeing her picture throughout history online. Really? What prompted those kids to look for those pictures online anyway? That's never really explained in this episode. Like much of the episode isn't really explained. Don't get me wrong, it was really cool to see the Cybermen back again in action, especially with some nice new upgrades like in super speed and the ability to use body parts as more effective weapons. I also don't mind the Iron Man arc-looking part of their chest there, the thing that lit up in the middle. It looked cool. Why not use it? I mean, it was pretty snazzy to add on there. However, this episode does start off with the Doctor and Clara taking the kids to an amusement planet with the best amusement park in the world, in the universe, la 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 la. The Doctor even had a golden ticket. Well, they land to find it desolated, destroyed, only inhabited by an old and odd kind of caretaker and some soldiers who were being punished by their emperor. The Doctor, using his handy-dandy psychic paper, lets the soldiers believe he is a special envoy or commander of some kind, and then they have to take orders from him. That's how pretty convenient. This special caretaker takes the Doctor and the kids inside, and with Clara, after coming face-to-face, they come face-to-face with a deactivated Cyberman. And of course, the Doctor gets really defensive, like, what the heck is this guy doing here? The The caretaker assures them that the Cyberman is completely harmless, just an empty shell, and a game of chess can be played with the Cyberman by anybody. So the youngest of the kids, who says he's a chess master, decides to try and take them on. The kid wins, and the doctor realizes the Cyberman here is being remote controlled by a little guy inside his desk called Porridge. Yes, the little guy is called Porridge. I half expected Goldilocks to walk through the door. I mean, it is an amusement park after all, with a castle and a moat and everything. Porridge is played by a guy, though, that made many heads in fandom exploded. Sci-fi fandom, Star Trek fandom, Star Wars fandom, Doctor Who fandom. Basically, anybody who watched sci-fi in the last 25 years, 30 years, their head went, what? Yep, that's right. Porridge is played by the Ewok himself, Warwick Davis. Star Wars meets Doctor Who? Wackiness ensues. Anyways, we also see little electronic bugs watching everyone everywhere, and we learn that they are from the Cybermen still on the planet that are in hiding. Millions upon millions of them, it seems like. And they take over the caretaker and the children after they are captured in a small and very quick attack by these Cybermen. They are also eventually able to get the doctor, and he's infested with these cybermites, as he calls them, and thus begins to be upgraded too. Now, that's not any real big spoilers. We could have all figured that out from the commercials and the promos that were running for the show. What I'm about to get into are real spoilers. So if you don't want to hear them, go ahead and tune out now. If you're watching the show, go ahead and check out the page on our screen there, and as soon as the Doctor Who poster goes down, then you can come on back. So, that being said, after the upgrade, he becomes part of the Cybermen and is plugged into the collective processing power of all the Cybermen around, the Doctor himself. The Doctor, under the control of the Cybermen, says to call himself Mr. Clever because he's a Cyberman planner or something. But I've got another name for him, Locutus 2.0. Yes. There's a big battle that soon happens, blah, blah, blah. People die, blah, blah, blah. Millions of Cybermen stopped when the Doctor finally stops the Cybermen collective in his head with a chess game in 3 moves, blah, blah, blah. You know, I just saw this same story earlier last month on the big screen when I got to watch Star Trek The Next Generation, Best of Both Worlds, and that was much, much better storytelling. I know that the Borg are a very close rip-off of the Cybermen. You don't have to tell me that, and I won't deny that. But when the Doctor Who borrows the story that I've seen already that was done in a much better fashion from Star Trek, that just bothers me a little bit. I want original with my Who, not Riker somewhere giving an order to fire. The kids end up safe, of course. The planet and all the Cybermen are blowed up good by the order of the Emperor of Humanity, who had been in hiding. Another big spoiler. Emperor Porridge, a.k.a. Wicked the Ewok, is the leader. A teddy bear is the emperor of all humans left in the universe. Seriously? Go figure. And the older girl of these 2 kids that Clara takes care of figured out that he was the emperor when no other adults did, and seriously? Yeah, okay, whatever, Moffat. Okay, the one redeeming quality in this episode was Matt Smith, I think, simply by playing good doctor, mad doctor, evil doctor effectively. That was fun to watch him face his evil-like self, even in his own mind. And we even saw a flashback of all 10 previous incarnations of the Doctor while in his head. Clara I like too, but she seemed to be just a pawn again by the Cybermen that he erased all mentions of throughout his history somehow. Oh, wait, I messed up my own script and off script a little bit. Sorry. She seemed like a pawn of chess piece anyway, not something really effective. But I gotta wonder, doesn't the Doctor, who were we told again by the Cybermen he's erased all mentions of himself throughout history somehow, doesn't he worry that these kids might tell their friends, tell their parents, tell the media, tell anyone, tell their dog? I mean, seriously, the Doctor's not being very bright here. Hopefully next week is much, much better. And then, of course, next week we apparently might learn the name of the Doctor. I just hope we don't learn something like Billy Bob. I'm just saying. I mean, if he's Billy Bob out of the trailer park or something, and the TARDIS is really just a trailer turned up on its side, I'd be a little worried. Just a little worried. Let's talk Doctor Who's season finale. Yes, it's the season finale and the last New Who that we're going to see until November 23rd, 2013 for the 50th anniversary of Doctor Who. How well does this episode stack up to the last half of this season where we've had Clara as the companion? Or is she the companion technically? Okay, now every last week I've actually had time to sit down and write the full review for these shows. I will not lie. However, because of wackiness and craziness going on in the last couple days here, I didn't get a chance to actually write the full review like I wanted to after watching it late last night. But I have a few talking points and a few things that just kind of caught my eye that I want to talk about here and mention them to you. Okay, first up, the name of the Doctor. As a Whovian myself, I thought it was a great episode. The opening of the episode itself, first, 2 minutes or so, was pure Whovian geekdom, fandom heaven. Not only do you see, I should stop right now. Anybody who has not seen the episode of Doctor Who, go ahead and tune your audio down until you see the poster here on the screen go away. There's going to be massive spoilers given away in just the next few minutes of Doctor Who's The Name of the Doctor episode. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. I'm going to be giving away spoilers here soon. I'm going to give you guys about 15 seconds to tune out. Starting now. Okay. Does anybody who wants to hear this review online now still? Are you guys still here? Okay. So I'm going to talk New Who so that way you can listen to what my thoughts are. All right. Now, the opening part of this episode basically had different versions of Clara, making her even look like some of the companions for the Doctor somehow, interacting with nearly every single incarnation of the Doctor himself, going all the way back to the first Doctor by William Hartnell. Whoa. We saw Patrick Troughton running through a field, and she just stops him enough for whatever reason to help him. We see her calling out to the third Doctor while he's driving Bessie. We see the fourth Doctor running by her without really noticing her. And at one point, she's even saying, he never really heard me saying his name, saying Doctor, Doctor, until one time. And we see that it's Matt Smith's Doctor, possibly at a different time, but also when she was in the Asylum of the Daleks. How does that get explained? We'll come back to it in a sec. One of the high points of this episode, the London Trio are back. They're better than ever. I gotta say, I love Mr. Potato Head Strax. He just cracks me up. I did like how Madame Vastra had everybody kind of communicate through time with some weird kind of tea, herbal, mushroom, drug-induced something or other. It was just very cool. We also saw River Song come back, but the way she leaves in this episode makes me think we may not see her again. Or if we do, it's going to be a very special event and not just, oh, look, I'm the wife, I'm here and to be jealous and everything. No, I don't think we're going to see that. There were all sorts of the different incarnations of Doctor we did see, and it was just fun. I mean, we even saw the seventh Doctor hanging out from a ledge from just clips from old episodes. It was just cool, I gotta say. We got to actually go to Triskelion, where the Doctor was told not to go because the 11th Doctor would fall, blah, blah, blah. And we find out why we can't go there. He explains to Clara, basically, if we go to Triskelion, we're going to be going to his own grave site. That's what I think they meant by fall. It's not necessarily that he would die there, but it's where he was buried. And his own tomb is not like a big headstone or anything like that. It's actually the TARDIS. Super huge, because its circuits and everything that's bigger on the inside is starting to push out. Just a neat little twist. The secret way in, of course, a headstone marked River Song. Go figure. Hello, sweetie, indeed. The Great Intelligence is back. Basically a shadow of his former self as part of these creatures called the Whisperers. All I saw when I saw them was Buffy, the Hush guys, the gentlemen. I'm sorry. I know they were meant to be scary. They didn't seem scary to me, but that's just me. other than that, the episode, it was great because the Great Intelligence wanted to stop the Doctor, and the best way to do that was to go to the Doctor's grave, go inside, and get to his time stream. But before they could go inside, someone would have to say the actual right word to get into the tomb. That word, the name of the Doctor. Now, because River Song technically wasn't with them in the episode, she was only mentally linked to Clara. Mentally linked to Clara. That's important. Only Clara could see the river, and we learn later even the Doctor could see River, but no one else could. However, the TARDIS would open when somebody would say this one phrase or one word. No one else would say it because they didn't know it other than the Doctor and River. River said the Doctor's name. Brilliant writing here, though, because no one else could see River. We never heard the name said, so it's never given away. Very cool. I have to admit that was just a neat little twist. Now, what I do like is you go in and you see this magical, mystical light. The light itself is explained to be the entire life of the Doctor. All the time streams that make up his life. It's like a tear, like an open wound in time, because he has traveled through time more than anybody else. And the Great Intelligence, wanting to stop the Doctor, knows what he's got to do. He's got to go into that time stream, and he can destroy and kill the Doctor from there. As soon as he steps in, everybody starts to change and go against each other. They don't know who they are. The Doctor collapses, and Clara realizes what she has to do. Clara is the impossible girl. She has to go into the time stream. When she does, she's told by River she'll be scattered across the time itself, across the Doctor's just consciousness, his whole world, and she'll always be there to help him. So one of these early incarnations we saw at the opening of the show was Wim Hartnell and his granddaughter, just in a back shot, but some brilliantly edited moves of showing Dr. Hartnell, or the first Doctor's face, going up to these long cylinders. And we see somebody, we know that they're breaking into some old broken TARDISes. We see Clara's character on Gallifrey tell the first Doctor, you don't want to steal that TARDIS. You want to steal this one. This one will take you and have more fun with. That's the one they get into. And we see the TARDIS as just a simple cylinder without its chameleon circuit on, flying away through the time stream. We also see Clara helping the Doctor, knowing what she's doing now, and all the sorts of different incarnations. We do see a glimpse of the Ninth Doctor, a glimpse of all the other ones, but sadly, we don't see many other interactions. But we know that Clara is gone. And the Doctor wakes up and everything is starting to be repaired. But the Doctor wants to save Clara still. So somehow, some way, he gets to where she's fallen into. And she sees her, and they're talking, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. And then he sees someone. The Doctor sees someone. Their back is turned, and he says he can't be here. They can't see this guy. This guy is bad news. Who is this Doctor? Well, Doctor, I know who it is. As he turns around, we see it's John Hurt. And underneath, he's wearing what seems to be the 8th Doctor's looking outfit with the 9th Doctor's jacket over it. And it comes up with a simple caption introducing John Hurt as the Doctor. Holy crap. That was just cool. I liked it. I like that we've got John Hurt as the Doctor. I like the fact that maybe we've just thrown a whole kink in the whole system. Maybe Matt Smith is the 12th Doctor, actually. Maybe Chris Eccleston was the 10th Doctor. Maybe John Hurt is like 8.5 or 14 or something. And he's done something so bad that all the different versions of the Doctor don't want to recognize his name. I don't know. Hopefully we get it resolved in the 50th anniversary special. It should be fun. I'm looking forward to it, and I just enjoy it. I do agree with Fred from Joe Battlelines that Doctor Who is getting to be more of a soap opera, but I like to see it definitely pare down on the soapiness and give me a little bit more fun and action. And I think we might actually get that with a little bit more Tennant back. And call me crazy, I'm going to call it right now. I'm going to say right now that in the 50th anniversary, we know that Eccleston has said he has not done anything for it. I got a sneaky suspicion he's filmed at least even a video screen cameo of some kind that we know nothing about. I got a feeling. I know nobody else probably feels the same way. I just have this really gut feeling he's done something. And maybe all of the other living doctors have done the same thing. Again, I don't know. I have no inside information. I'm just guessing. All right, folks, that's it. You've now heard all my reviews of all the episodes leading up to the 50th anniversary special. I can't wait. Next week, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be fun. And we get to see the 10th Doctor back. We get to see John Hurt as the Doctor. We see Rose? Why is Rose back? I'm just kind of sad we're not going to see Sarah Jane. All right, folks, we'll be live next week, ready to rock and roll. You guys have a great night. Watch for those donation buttons as well from PayPal for helping me out and making donations for Toys for Tots and for Camp Out for Hunger. I promise they will be up by the end of this show. You guys have a great night. We'll talk to you soon. And remember, as always, just bro it and rock on, everybody. Seriously? You're still here? Show's over. It's canned. And I still got to do laundry. Have a great night, everybody.